Welcome to A Better HR Business, the podcast that looks at how HR consultants and HR tech firms grow their businesses and how they help their employers to get the best out of their people. Remember, for show notes and downloads, go to www.getmorehrclients.com/podcast. That's getmorehrclients.com/podcast. Okay, let's get started.
Hello, welcome back to the show. Nice to have you along. Thanks for joining me. I'm really looking forward to today's chat with Michael Yinger. Michael is the CEO and co-founder of a very cool candidate evaluation platform called the Sieve. Michael, thank you very much for joining me today.
Ben, I'm happy to be here and thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, and whereabouts are you based in this world?
I am in Charlotte, North Carolina. Lovely summertime.
Nice. Oh, very good. I'm very jealous. So, Michael, let's jump on in because you've built something very cool there. I'd love to learn more about it. Do you want to, before we learn about the Sieve, do you want to just give us the quick background of yourself and what led you to the formation of the business?
Absolutely. I've been in the talent acquisition space for about 20 years, primarily in the outsourcing space. I started with a company called Sieve, which is now Randstad SourceRight. And then went from there to work for a company called Aon, where I was running global RPO delivery. And then we were acquired by PeopleScout, and I was initially one of the portfolio leads and then became the head of global sales and product management for PeopleScout. And then COVID came along, and I was looking for a new opportunity. And the folks who had the idea for the Sieve came to me and said, look, we'd like some help. We've got this idea. They actually had some technology that they built for a company that they had sold, and they retained the technology. And it was the Sieve, much as you see it today, although it was built for a single company. So we formed the company and have been working on developing the application since, and launched our application about 3 months ago.
That's great. The co-founders or the people, how do they find you?
Well, it just speaks to the power of networking, Ben. One of the advisors of the other folks who are my co-founders worked with me in the late 90s. We were working for a consulting firm that was in the what was at the time the CRM space, which was different than from an HR perspective. That was customer relationship management. So we worked together for a couple of years, and we stayed in touch. The power of social networking and whatnot, and the fact that this guy is just a phenomenal networker. And so we had stayed in touch over the years, and he came to me when he saw that there was a change in my career and said, "Look, this is what we're looking for. Do you think you'd like to join us?" It's amazing how things like that happen.
That is great. I like that. A previous guest friend of mine, Liz Deblay, she talked about either herself or one of her people in her network. They won a big contract with Pepsi, but it took years in the making just from gradually building up contacts and relationships and things like that. So overnight success over the years.
Yeah, exactly.
No, well done. So what is the Sieve? What does it do?
Sure. We fall into the matching space. We take resumes and we take a job description, and then we evaluate those resumes and provide them back to the user on a ranked basis. Yeah. What makes us a little different than some of the other tools out there is that we've sort of opened up the black box, if you will, and the users really get to pick what is the criteria, what's the weighting of the criteria, and then evaluate very quickly their resumes for a best fit. Along with that, of course, is the opportunity to redo that, and so there's some real productivity that comes along with it. Now we're targeting primarily companies that are used to doing this stuff manually, and there still are a number of companies in the world. Certainly there are the major applicant tracking systems, but in terms of absolute market penetration, they've just scratched the surface of companies that are still doing recruiting by getting resumes via the mail, getting resumes from one of the job boards, and then looking at them, putting them in piles, reviewing them. And so those are the folks that we're targeting with a very easy to use tool.
Yeah, nice. And was it Amazon? Did they ruin these sort of candidate assessment tools because they got it wrong with their algorithm? Do you sort of find that challenge?
Yeah, there is they really did They stepped into it by thinking that AI could become the ultimate matching tool, and some of the challenges. Google has been working on this, although from a different direction. You talk about two behemoths, right? Google and Amazon. Google's approach is to take the job description and find people that match the job description. Well, okay, that's fine. That finds you candidates. Those are passive candidates. Most people are dealing with applicants. They're dealing with people who've expressed a desire to have the job. And the issue is, how do you decide which ones are the best? Who are the ones that I should interview? Which ones have the skills that I really need? And a lot of the matching tools out there, they don't focus on that so much as they focus on finding you candidates. Well, that's only half the battle, maybe not even half the battle, right? Because if you're pulling passive candidates out of the web, what's the likelihood you're going to convert those people? I get job offers asking me if I'd like to be a C++ programmer. That may be a reflection of when I went to school, not necessarily my skill set, but it's certainly, I don't pay attention to those kinds of things. And I think a lot of people are getting numb to all the reach out. Much better, we think, to be dealing with people who have actually expressed a desire for the job in the first place.
Yeah. And is it based on Boolean search, or how do you define the criteria that the Sieve will operate against?
Sure. The user picks the criteria, and it's based on a couple of different factors. One is the skill present in the resume, and what's the length of time that the person has used it, and how recently have they used it, so that you're able to evaluate somebody not only on whether or not they say they've got the skill, but whether or not it has occurred recently in their resume. Now, we're also capable of looking not just for the skill itself, but for the things that are like the skill. And I'll use technology, although the tool will work for anything. But say you wanted somebody who had Java skills, and they had J2EE on their resume as opposed to Java. Well, we'd pick that up. So it really is looking at those kind of capabilities, along with the education that they have and their total job tenure and language skills, and for countries where this matters, their immigration status, and also location. Are they within an area that you want somebody who's going to be able to commute to an office? So you can fine tune all those things in the searching process, in the matching process.
Got it. And in terms of the purchase or the operation side, how does a company actually use it? Do they buy it, attach things, or is it one-off? How's it based?
Sure. There are a couple of different ways to approach it. The easiest way is that you can sign up at our website, and we're running a free trial, and then you can begin to use it by simply feeding in resumes and your job description. All those can be uploaded, and there are different ways to do the upload process. The slightly more complicated way is that we can integrate with different tool sets. We're in the process of integrating with our first applicant tracking system, and intend to add more as time goes on.
Yep. And
then you can take it from there. It's the tool itself is pretty easy to use. The sign up process is really simple. We don't ask you for money or credit cards or some of those kinds of things. It's, come in and try it, see if it works, see if it gives you the results that you'd like to see.
Yeah, nice. So what are the ideal client types?
Yeah.
So if someone listening to this is thinking, I know someone who could use this, who are those sort of types of companies that you'd like to bring on board?
Sure. There's no real specific industry that we think is better than others. We are targeting some industries just because they're so large. There's so many choices out there, but that's a different thing. This is somebody who's getting resumes and is not working, or it doesn't have a tool set that allows them to appropriately evaluate. So it really is somebody who's continuing to evaluate their resumes manually. Now, that could be a large company or a small company. It's possible that there are a number of applicant tracking systems in the marketplace today that don't really do resume evaluation. They present the resumes, and you can knock some out based on pre-screening questions, but they don't necessarily put all the resumes that you receive in any sort of rank order. So a couple of different ways to interface with us.
Yep, that makes sense. And you mentioned that partnering with the ATS, I think that's possibly number one growth channel I hear about from a lot of HR tech companies that I talk to is is the partnering up with other firms that deal with the similar audience, but they don't compete directly. So that's very smart.
Exactly. We in addition to partnering with applicant tracking systems, we're actively involved in conversations with other tool vendors who don't do what we do, and vice versa, as a way to bring a more complete tool set. Again, the stats are pretty interesting, that something like 50% of the jobs that are filled today are still filled manually. And I'm doing air quotes around manually. Certainly there's email involved and job boards. And they're not, the companies are not using any sort of HR tech solution for them. And 50% of the jobs are filled by people who are not recruiters, people who don't have the time, who don't have necessarily the skill set. And so we're, again, looking to make the process of figuring out who I should talk to easier. Now, we've talked exclusively about applicants here in this conversation. Consider a couple of other use cases. One, you've had past applicants. Maybe you should go back to the well and look at who you've talked to in the past. We enable that process. Or maybe you want to look to see whether you've got the skills within your organization. Well, you put everybody in your company, you put all their resumes in the Sieve, suddenly you've got a tool to do talent matching within your organization. Given what's happening in HR, right? This great tsunami that everybody talks about. I've done some posts on that, all these people are ready to leave. I saw some stats today. 69% of people surveyed are looking to change jobs.
Yeah.
And 5% of the people surveyed are actually happy with the job they're in. Ooh. Holy cats. that just says, the recruitment may be the place to be for the next several years.
Yeah, and you certainly need a good sieve in your cupboard
there you
to get
go.
ready for that.
Good tool to help you work through all those pieces. Absolutely right.
Oh, scary stuff. So you guys are a youngish company. Yes. What are you doing to grow and acquire new clients?
So we've got multiple channels that we're working through from a sales and marketing perspective. We're actively seeking out companies and then contacting them to tell them who we are. This is the tough part when you're first growing, to get the traction and reaching out. We run pilots with people who are interested. So we've got several pilots going today. And then we appear at events to get our word out. I was talking with the folks about advertising at an event that's coming up in the UK, actually, late September, called RecFest. We were at HR Tech last year when it was virtual, all just ways to get our name out there. And then, of course, you've got social media. I did some social media posts today. We've got Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn accounts, and we use those vigorously to get the word out and continue to be in front of people, given that, depending on who you listen to, it takes 6 to 9 times before someone pays attention to that advertising. So you got to be out there frequently.
Absolutely. And I would also suggest getting in touch with Ward Crispin at HR Tech Alliances.
Yep. We've actually pitched on Ward's show, and I do attend his sessions on not quite every week, but I do attend some of his sessions. So I like Ward and that whole crew. They were very helpful in terms of feedback after our presentation, which is really a nice feature of their, you get to pitch, and of course you're not pitching to people who are necessarily going to buy or invest, but you are pitching to people who are experts in the space. There's no question. And they gave some really, really good advice about, sort of packaging and messaging and where we should appeal to in the marketplace. So I'd recommend them highly.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So if you're listening, that's HR Tech Alliances. Yeah, great place to connect with other HR tech businesses and partner up. And as you've heard, talk about your own business and try and grow it that way. You mentioned doing outreach to potential clients. How are you doing that? Because I know people listening to this will go, oh, we need to be doing more of that.
Yeah. It's the overall challenge, which everybody faces, is how the privacy rules have really tied your hands. It used to be you could buy a list of 1 million people and start emailing them. Not so much anymore when it's $1,500 for every spam that you get charged with, right? So we call them sales development reps who are mining LinkedIn, and then we're reaching out and asking people, we'd like to be in contact with you both by phone and by email. And the people who agree, then they go on our list and we send them messaging and whatnot. So it really is, it's the hard work of identifying. Now, the nice thing, we use LinkedIn Navigator. And the nice thing about LinkedIn Navigator is it allows you to really narrow your search. So, for example, one of the verticals in the small business space that we're going after are staffing companies. And so you can really drill down on people who work in those kinds of organizations and then figure out who they are. And then we do use another tool to then find addresses and phone numbers, because you can't always find that from LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So it's publicly available data, and we're being respectful, and it's what you got to do.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Are you finding it's harder these days? I've found with the pandemic, everyone's gone online, everyone's gone onto LinkedIn, and so there's a lot more direct messaging. So do you just cut to the chase, or do you build up a relationship over time and hope something happens?
We cut to the chase pretty quickly to so that somebody understands. I'm on the receiving end of some of those pitches that you're talking about, Ben, and that the people who are sort of nibbling around the edges and it's like, tell me why you're contacting me. Okay, I'm willing.
Yeah, we all know what's happening.
Yeah, but what is it that you're trying to sell me, or what is it that you're trying to convince me to do? And so we believe in being right up front. We know that there are these challenges in your space. Are you seeing those kind of challenges? Are you looking for a solution to those challenges? Because here's how we solve them. Sort of really packaging a succinct message that has people understand that we get their pain, and we want to provide them a solution to that pain.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's why people buy, right? They know they have pain. They see that there's a solution for it, and of course, they have money to spend.
Yeah. No, that's good. So if you're listening to this, Michael was mentioning Sales Navigator, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and the targeting in that is pretty amazing. You can buy ads and pay for advertising on LinkedIn using Sales Navigator, where you send messages to people. But please, if you ever do that, don't give me the whole War and Peace message of here's the history of our company and the 6 different colors the platform comes in. Just short and sweet. Have you got this issue? Because this is what we can do, and let's have a chat. Short and sweet, I find, performs so much better in split testing. Would you agree with that, Michael?
Absolutely right. You lose people, you need to be succinct, and you need to show them what the value is right up front. And because it's kind of like darts, right? You're throwing darts, hoping that you hit somewhere that you hit somebody who's got a need. That's what you got to do, and it's you got to have patience. It takes time.
Takes work. So you've built a brilliant platform, and I've been through recruitment drives, so I wish I'd had the Sieve at those stages. What do you see happening in the world of work and the future of HR? What are your thoughts on what's coming down the line?
Well, it's I pay a lot of attention to that because, of course, it has an impact on us and where we sit in the space. I think we have not yet seen the end of the work from home revolution. I think that there have been some fundamental changes, both in attitude and expectation around that sort of approach. And while people learned to deal with work from home, we have a long way to go to really systematize it and make it effective. Now, I've been working from home for more than 20 years. In the Sieve, we've never met face to face. We were founded during the pandemic, so I mean, it's sort of the ultimate situation. And those are things that are really going to have an impact on how HR works, how your teams come together, how you keep them together, how you interact with them. I reviewed a really brilliant application the other day that's intended to facilitate the conversation about the work being done, so that you're focused on the work being done, and that really drives the conversations that go on in the business, and just to help the managers deal with all the people that you've got perhaps all over the world, to be more effective.
Yeah, absolutely. And the changes you've described, I completely agree. The world of work has certainly changed since the pandemic, and the 20 years earlier that you mentioned of working remotely. I think it's only going to grow.
Yeah.
Michael, if people are listening to this, want to refer clients to you, want to use you as a client, what should they do next?
Well, our website is resumesieve.com, and you can come see what we do, and you have the opportunity to sign up for a free trial. As I say, we don't take your credit card, but it's up to you whether or not you like the product and you want to continue. I'm pretty accessible, michael@resumesieve.com, pretty easy to get a hold of me. And then, of course, we're on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, all places where you can see some things that we're doing and maybe hear a little bit about what our clients are saying about us and whatnot. And if you're interested, we're raising money as well. We're on WeFunder under Resume Sieve. It's a way for you to get involved in the HR tech space. This whole world of crowdfunding has really changed the availability of being part of something that was not present in the past.
That is cool. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
So folks listening to this, it's not just, what's that big investment firm, Andre Horowitz or something? No?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Horowitz. Yeah. Andreessen Horowitz. Right. Sure.
Yeah.
The guys who founded.
Exactly. Or SoftBank, or all these big names.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That roll out the billions. Yeah, you're right. That it's democratization of investing. So yeah, that's cool. So do check out resumesieve.com because there are details there if you want to become an HR tech investor yourself. Michael, thank you very much for sharing your story and what you guys are doing. It's going to help employers for sure. And I think it's exciting times ahead for you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate the time and the questions and look forward to continuing on our path.
Thanks for joining us today on A Better HR Business, the podcast that explores the world of HR consulting and HR tech businesses. For show notes and downloads, go to www.getmorehrclients.com/podcast. That's getmorehrclients.com/podcast. Remember to subscribe and share the show with any friends who are busy growing a HR business. Thanks and see you next time.